Hey, what's going on, social media family? I want to share with you a very powerful prophetic dream that the Lord gave me for America. It was very detailed. I'm going to go through the dream slowly. I'm going to give you 5 key points that the Lord showed me in this dream, and I'm going to just explain it the best I can. I try to remember every single detail of the dream. Whenever the dream is over, in the comments below, if you want to write down your interpretation, what you feel, what you think, feel free to do so. I've just always told the Lord that I want to be obedient. When He gives me something, I want to release it. And so I'm just being obedient to the Lord. Now, there's 5 things that I want to give you before I really go into the dream. The 5 key points. Number 1 was a funeral. Number 2 was a witch. 3 was money. 4 were buses, and 5 was freedom. So I'm going to get into the beginning of this. In the beginning of this dream, I was getting ready for a funeral. I really don't think it was a person's funeral. And when I started getting ready, I was on the phone with different family members and friends, and they all were getting ready for this funeral as well. Well, I got in my vehicle and I went to a place where a lot of people were hanging out. They were all getting ready for a funeral. Everybody in America was getting ready for their funeral. But what the funeral was for, I don't think it was a person. In fact, I know it wasn't. Had not died yet, but it was declining so fast that there was a funeral getting ready to happen. The next thing that I literally saw this in the dream, it was almost like a vision in the dream, is I saw the face of a witch. And the face of this witch, she was very angry. She was mad. She was just had a stern look on her face, kind of a scorn look. And you could tell that she was really upset. Well, then all of a sudden, her face started to turn into the face of a clown. And whenever it did, her face started to age, and she was getting so furious. And then all of a sudden, she started unleashing word curses over people. And this is what I knew in the dream. This is what I felt during the dream. People had hired her to, speak out against certain people, certain groups, certain things. And as she was speaking out, she thought she was told truth or was deceived, lack of discernment, and now she was made out to be a clown. What was happening in this dream is, instead of, and this is what I felt, she was paid to come against certain people, groups, and movements, to where she was made to be a clown, and she turned on the people that paid her and pointed her in a certain direction, and she started bringing word curses towards these people and these movements, which was part of the cause of people getting ready for the funeral. Okay? The next part was money. Now, there was a guy, a gentleman I know, he's well off financial. He called me and said, I want you to meet me at a certain location. When I got to this certain location, everybody at the location was also preparing for the funeral. Now, the place that I went was a very unique. It was a very large, old, traditional, religious church. And what I mean by that is they were a church that tried to just take care of everybody. It was a place that they didn't teach apostolic, prophetic kingdom. They were just a gathering center where they just tried to kind of take care of everybody. The whole place always seemed kind of nervous, just taking care of everybody. Well, this huge building was part of that church, and then a huge warehouse was the second part of this building, and then the third part was probably the lamest indoor amusement park you could ever even imagine. So I walked in to meet this gentleman, and he said, Joe Joe, I got something great for you. This is awesome. This is phenomenal. What I have for you is going to change your life. And he just kept going on and on and on, but he never gave me anything. He was promising. And I knew this guy was part of the funeral. And he just kept on. Finally, I said, stop. Just give it to me already. Thank you for what you've been saying you're going to give me, but what is it? And he gave me $100 bill. I said, $100 bill. $100 is not a lot of money. You promised me all of this stuff, and you are literally giving me $100 bill. And he said, oh no, you don't understand how great you have it. You have $100 bill. And I'm like, man, this was not worth me coming up here and doing. You told me that if I came to this location, you were going to give me something great. Man, what are you doing? And then so this guy was part of the funeral, or leading up to the funeral. And then I remember I walked around this church, and everybody there was getting ready for the funeral. And they seemed a little confused about what was going on. So I left the church side of the building and went to this huge warehouse where very minimum was going on. And all the workers were kind of murmuring and complaining. And they're like, they promised us better than this. How come more people aren't working? How come we're not producing anything? We have this huge, amazing building with all of this, technology and equipment and machines, and nobody's working. We were created and made to do great things, but now they've limited us to doing nothing. This building, this machinery, we can do so much more. And the people, they were losing their American spirit. They were losing the fight that they had in them as Americans to create and to do great things. So then all of a sudden I saw these buses, kind of like trolleys, and everybody was getting on these trolleys and they were going through the amusement park. But the amusement park, here's the neat thing, the attendants at all the different rides and all the different things, the majority of them were asleep. They weren't doing anything. They were the ones supposed to be taking care of things, but they really weren't doing anything. And when you would go up to one of them, they say, oh yeah, man, this is great, man. We promised y'all great things. This is going to be great. No. They were actually dying. They were part of the funeral. So then all of a sudden, nothing was going on in this amusement park. Nothing was happening. And so people started jumping off the buses, and they said, we're not staying in this anymore. We're not in the amusement park. We're leaving this business. We're leaving this church. Nothing's happening. And then the attendants were like, you can't leave. You can't leave. And they're like, watch us. So people started leaving the buses. And then all of a sudden, as these people were leaving the amusement park, they were leaving the church, they were leaving this huge warehouse, one guy stops in the middle of it all. And at the top of his lungs, he yells, freedom, as loud as he could. And it was like a roar through everything. The dead amusement park, the dead place where people were working, and the dead part of the church, everybody started exiting out of the doors. Very few workers were left in the amusement park, the church, or the factory. Very few stayed. And the guy that kept trying to tell me about this money, he kept trying to convince me and everybody else, oh, well, $100 is a lot of money. And then the reality was, it wasn't. As everybody was leaving, all of this stuff that people had promised, the funeral got stronger and stronger and stronger. And I know in the dream, the funeral was not a person. It's a group of people. It's a movement. America is going to have awakening. Now, the harsh part about this was the witch, I really feel, is the media. You're going to see a change in the media. Not all the media, but some of it. You're going to see a change, the ones that have been lied to, because they don't be made into clowns. Now, why a witch? The Bible says rebellion is the same as witchcraft. Whenever somebody is speaking, doing, or saying something against the will of God, that is rebellion, that is witchcraft. If the media is speaking, saying things, pushing agendas that are against the will of God, that is witchcraft. Who does witchcraft? Witches. So I hope you're using your discernment to understand, number one, there's a funeral that is beginning to happen. The witch, the media, they're starting to turn the way that they think. The money, you've been promised a lot of things in America that has not came to pass. Okay? Buses, people are jumping off. They're jumping off. Well, what does a bus do? A bus moves people from one place to the next. People are getting off the bus because the bus is moving in a wrong direction. It just takes somebody to stand up and say freedom. This is a day and an hour that America is about to have a mighty awakening. You're going to see a lot of things happen. Now, in the comment box below, write whatever you feel. This is just a dream. I gave it to you. You may have a different interpretation, whatever it may be. Respect others' opinions. Man, I love you guys. I love America. And I know great things are coming.